Thank you, Louis. Hello, everyone. My name is Tasos Christodoulou, Technical Sales Specialist at IBM, and I'm really thrilled to present to you today the latest and greatest of Cognos Analytics with what's on 11.2.1. We will start off our presentation with some of the features we saw in 11.2.0 release, then we'll introduce the new features of version 11.2.1. Accordingly, we will move on to our demonstration before we come back with some more new features. Earlier this year, IBM Cognos Analytics 11.2.0 was released, with the main change being in the user interface. This is because we adopted the Carbon framework, which is IBM's open-source design system for digital products and experiences. With each new release, we are always looking to add new visualizations, and this is what we did with 11.2. Further to users' requests, we added two new dashboard visualizations, the box plots and radars. We also performed some work in our AI assistant and the forecasting capability, so we now support all app sources. Therefore now, you are able to use the AI assistant with your planning analytics and Power Cubes. We also had our very first Watson Insights, which was added in the AI assistant, and we will see how it works later on. And finally, we added two new baseline options on report authoring, which allow you to create baselines based on more advanced calculations. Furthermore, since the 30th of September, 11.2.1 was made available to download and use. The main change in this new release is our rebranding to IBM Cognos Analytics with Watson. Additionally, we did what we always do, and this was to improve the product itself. We added a new 3D Hexbin Grouping option in maps, which allows you to display high-density spatial point data in a map. We enhanced our visualization settings by allowing you to change the colors of the axis lines and value labels, change the legend symbol shapes, as well as switch between horizontal or vertical bullet charts. You can now turn your pie chart into a nice donut chart. We improved the look and feel of crosstab's conditional formatting properties, and finally, you are now able to copy values from list and crosstab report outputs from the interactive viewer and preview page. So now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I present to you Cognos Analytics with Watson 11.2.1. This is our new default homepage of Cognos 11.2.1. As we previously mentioned, the homepage and the content navigation since 11.2 are built using the IBM Carbon 10 design system. Starting from the top, we have the welcome section with a welcome text and a link to an overview of Cognos Analytics 11.2. I can close this section at any time using the X at the top right of my screen, and I can turn it back on for my personal preferences. Next section down the screen is the Quick Launch section. This was built to allow users to quickly access the main features for building content in Cognos. Some of these tiles they give secondary options, so for example, when I choose Present Data, I am presented with options of how I would like to do so, with a dashboard, a report, or a story. The Quick Launch section is also collapsible, which helps saving space on the home screen. Further down the screen, we have these two tabs, the Get Started and the Recent. The Get Started tab is really useful for new users and gives one-click access to everything you will need to get to know Cognos. We have a total of 7 new videos added, which demonstrate the basics of what you can achieve in Cognos, like overviews of the new platform, data modules, explorations, dashboards, and many more. We have a link that gives access to the accelerated catalog with lots of assets already made available for you to use, as well as the Learn pane, which is also accessible from the top right of the screen. Finally, we have links to samples, which you can browse based on their feature, industry, or at once. Moving on to the next tab on the screen, we have the Recent, which is similar to the Recent in 11.1.7. The tiles are now redesigned in Carbon. You can fit more items on the screen, with the usual tile and list views still present. Everything is accessible from this hamburger menu on the top left of the screen, which replaced the traditional content navigation that used to be on the left-hand side of the screen. Once we access the menu, we have the Home option, which returns us back to the home page, the new menu, which is almost identical with 11.1. We've added another quick way to upload your files. We have Content, where we have the tabs of the different main folders, the My Content, Team Content, and Samples. Further down, we have Recent, which is the same with the Recent tab we have on the home page. However, since the hamburger menu is accessible anywhere, this makes Recent easily accessible no matter where we are. And finally, our well-known Manage option. Next is our optimized search capability. Search has now moved and strategically placed here on the main banner and is always there for you to use. It provides type-ahead suggestions that happened, the ability to save searches, and the results are returned in a full-screen view. I can further filter my results by type, including report views, jobs, and shortcuts, refine them with keyword filtering, and I can also specify how many results appear on each page. Our menu switcher was amended too. In previous versions, this appeared at the top center of the screen, but since 11.2 was positioned here. And if I'm in the Home or Search Results page, it now indicates how many items I have open. Now, let's take a look at what's new in the last two releases in terms of dashboards. Before we start, please be aware that in order to plot these visualizations we will shortly go through, I will be using these data sources here, which most of them are available either in the sample folder or in the IBM Accelerator catalog. I will start off with the Watson Insights, which we first saw in version 11.2. Watson can detect semantic and data-driven relationships based on the data that you are investigating. You can use this extra data to help gain perspective and insight into the data that you are exploring. Therefore, Watson Insights are exceptional AI implementations highlighted with Watson branding to emphasize how AI automation helps users make smarter business decisions faster. So, I will simply ask the assistant for revenue and automatically detected that in my data model there were comparable revenue and planned revenue targets. So the assistant inspected the data, detected that the values were comparable, and automatically generated this visualization, which I can easily bring into any dashboard. Very quick and very easily. Then we have the AI assistant and the forecasting support for all cubes. Since Cognos Analytics 11.2, we can utilize AI assistance capabilities against planning analytics cubes, power play transforming cubes, and so on. Let's have a look. As a user, I interact with my cube using natural language. In this case, I am asking about net revenue by month. And the assistant responds with a graph as expected. After adding my graph to the dashboard, I noted that the forecasting functionality is still available. And by enabling it, I can see the forecasted values as well as the upper and lower bounds. So essentially, the same functionalities of the AI assistant that work on 11.1 are now extended to all cubes. Next are a couple of new dashboard visualizations for version 11.2.0, radars and box plots. These, of course, are not new types of visualizations to Cognos. They have been available in reporting from previous releases, but now are made available in dashboards too. Let's see them in action. Box plots were really popular amongst our customers and can be used for identifying outliers and comparing distributions. So how do we read this chart? Each box plot shows the median, quartiles, outlier, and extreme values for a variable. Let's take a closer look at Mexico. The interquartile range is the difference between the 75th and the 25th percentiles and corresponds to the length of the box. The middle line is the 50th percentile. Above and under each box, whiskers give additional information about the spread of the data. The mean score in a box plot is presented by the plus sign. Far out values are represented by the O signs beyond the whiskers. Further to our customer feedback to include radial charts on dashboards, with release 11.2, we are able to integrate multiple axes to a single radial figure using radars. Radar visualizations allow you to compare multiple quantitative variables by showing which variables have similar values or if there are any outliers amongst each variable. Additionally, radar visualizations are useful for seeing which variables are scoring high or low within a dataset, making them ideal for displaying performance. For example, here we can see that despite the fact that James generates the most revenue from mountaineering equipment, in fact, is Mr. Willoughby that has the best performance overall. And these are the two new visualizations in dashboards. With version 11.2.1, we have also introduced an improvement to our Mapbox maps. You can now use a 3D Hexbin grouping option in maps in dashboards and reports. For example, here we are looking at some website visits in California color using the heat map type. However, from version 11.2.1, we can use the 3D Hexbin option, which allows us to display high-density spatial point data in a map. In version 11.2.1, we've also improved our visualization settings. You are now able to set the border and grid line colors on a per-axis basis, as well as the color for the value labels. For example, here we have a column chart indicating the quantity by product line color by order method type, where the border lines, the grid lines, and the value labels are colored in red. Furthermore, if I add a repeated column or a row, for example, in this instance, I will add the retailer country, I can take advantage of the new iterator feature to set how repeating visualizations are displayed. This feature changes the display so that the chart iterators for each value of the repeat category are shown one at a time using the whole widget for each iterator. I can then swipe or click the visualization to view each iterator. Whilst on this column chart, I will show you another new feature in version 11.2.1. Dashboard authors are now able to choose the legend symbol from a list of options such as circle, donut, donut plus, and so on. So for now, I choose the donut plus. And the best part of all these new properties in this chart is that they are also available on the report charts too. The next new feature is a new improvement to bullet charts. Bullet charts show performance against a target. As you can see here, we have a bullet chart with targets and minimum, middle, and maximum ranges. The new feature here is a transpose property, which allows users to switch between horizontal and vertical bullet charts. This is not very subtle, but it gives you more control over the visualization. The next new feature I would like to show you is the ability you have in dashboards and reports to edit a pie chart visualization so that it appears as a donut that displays a total of the segments in the center. So using this pie chart representing the sales by store address, using my settings option, I can increase the donut hole radius and have a proper donut chart with a summary of sales appearing in the middle. There have also been made improvements to conditional formatting for crosstab, table, and KPI visualizations. Firstly, we can change the conditional color palettes more quickly and more easily using the Quick Palette Selector, which allows us to choose between recently used palettes and all the palettes. And secondly, we now have an improved look and feel in the conditional formatting properties. Now, let's return to our presentation to continue with an overview of more 11.2.0 and 11.2.1 features. So since 11.2.0, we improved our Watson Studio integration. In 11.1, we introduced phase 1 of our Watson Studio implementation on Cloud Dedicated and Cloud Pack for Data. With 11.2, we introduced the second phase of this integration, which allows Cognos users to import Watson Studio notebooks into Cognos, view them, and also embed items directly in Cognos reports and dashboards. Phase 2 capability supports Cognos on Cloud Dedicated, Cognos 11.2 on Cloud Pack for Data when it's released, and Cognos on-premise. We also enhanced the user's experience on the existing Mapbox maps by adding country labels in local language. Further down our list are the TLS certificates for S3. In other words, we now support TLS certificate import using S3 storage. Next, a housekeeping item, which is the great work we put in place for improving dashboard performance overall. We are pleased to share with you that we managed to improve various things in dashboards, such as the initial load time, query execution, metadata performance, and a few others, which allow us to maximize the user experience while working with dashboards. And last but not least, a conformance update. Support for Microsoft Internet Explorer is removed as of Cognos Analytics 11.2.0. This is not just Cognos deprecating Internet Explorer 11, since Microsoft is also deprecating IE. As a result, our customers will not be able to access Cognos 11.2 and onward using IE 11. Microsoft Edge Chromium is now the only supported Microsoft web browser. We understand that there are some legacy components using IE 11 and Firefox only. We will not provide conformance update for Query Studio and Analysis Studio, and they have to be used in older versions of IE or Firefox. Additionally, to Firefox and Google Chrome, PowerPlay Studio is not supported in Chromium Edge 2. With version 11.2.1, you can now take advantage of the Active Report Viewer to view and interact with your Cognos Analytics with Watson Active Reports. The Active Report Viewer is available for download on the IBM Accelerated catalog. You can now be licensed exclusively as a Cognos Analytics for mobile user. For a relatively low cost, a new license, which comes along with a new standard mobile analytics user role, entitles you to all of the Cognos Analytics for mobile capabilities that you need. A new version of IBM JRE is packaged with IBM Cognos Analytics with Watson 11.2.1 for improved security by restricting unsecure TLS versions. And finally, Cognos Analytics Dynamic Query now supports connections to Dremium as well as IBM Cloud SQL Query. And with this, we have come to the end of this part of our demonstration. I will now hand over to Matthew Robinson to show us how to add data science and machine learning via Watson Studio to IBM Cognos Analytics with Watson. Matthew, over to you.